the most recent one that sold for $2 million.
Stop.
From Kenner's Star Wars collection comes the Stormtrooper, the Sand People, and all 20 action figures, including new Hammerhead, Snaggletooth.
I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, as an at-risk kid, and through the help of others, I entered a program for at-risk youth that was sponsored by General Electric Aircraft Engine Group and the University of Cincinnati. They asked me did I know any Negro engineers, and I said no, I did not. And they said she didn't either. So once I found toys, which I had no idea that there was engineering jobs in toys at that time, I said, I'm home.
If you hadn't become an engineer, we may not have exactly the type of Star Wars action figures that we have now. How do you see AI impacting the toy industry?
Fastest growing segment of the toy industry is kidults, which is we call kid adults, combining those words there.
I'm a kid adult.
For kidults. Well, with Care Bears, you would think we designed them for kids.
Yeah.
We did not. We designed Care Bears to be a gift to be given by teenagers and adults to their friends and so forth.
I almost can't imagine being a kid on Christmas, opening up the box, shaking it. Why is nothing moving in this box? And then it was empty. I asked Jacob if he could bring some vintage toys from his collections. So we want to kind of unbox them. I'm not even sure what he brought. But we want to unbox them with you. Did you ever think Star Wars was going to get as popular as it has?
Absolutely not. We had no idea.
Toys are not just for kids. Did you know that the fastest growing customers of toys are actually adults 18 and above? And they've actually surpassed kids 3 to 5 in being the biggest customers in the toy industry. But when was the last time you held a toy in your hand? Did you ever wonder, how is this made? What is the engineering behind it? What is the manufacturing behind it? What is the technology behind it? And those toys that are gathering dust in your garage or attic, did you know some of them might be vintage toys that have value and might have become a collectible? These are all the topics that we're going to be diving into on this very, very special episode of the Tech Legacies podcast. Okay, so normally this is pre-recorded, but our guest is so special today that I really wanted to bring him on so that you guys can ask him questions as well on the episode. Okay, so I want to introduce you to our very, very special guest. His name is Jacob Miles. He is the CEO of Map Digital Network and former VP at Hasbro. Jacob, welcome to the Tech Legacies podcast.
So excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So Jacob, tell people a little bit about your background, how you came to be one of the engineers that are behind the Kenner Star Wars action figures. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Well, I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and as an at-risk kid, and through the help of others, I entered a program for at-risk youth that was sponsored by General Electric Aircraft Engine Group and the University of Cincinnati, and went through their engineering apprenticeship program and became an engineer working at General Electric. And working at General Electric, obviously working on jet engines and so forth, which is sort of a more traditional engineering path. But found that a little bit slower moving than I liked, and ended up talking to some folks that knew some other folks, and ended up at Procter & Gamble doing tooling and designing tooling and so forth for consumer packaged goods. And then that led me to work for Kenner Toys as a liaison engineer, and then as a mechanical engineer, design engineer, and operations executive. So once I found toys, which I had no idea that there was engineering jobs in toys at that time, I said, I'm home.
I love that. I love that. So tell the audience a little bit of some of the cool toys that you worked on throughout your career, Jacob.
Oh my goodness. At Kenner, I'm sure everybody knows Play-Doh and Baby
Yes.
Alive and Easy Bake Oven and so forth, which are traditional toys, Spirograph and things like that, were pretty basic toys. And then Kenner pioneered licensing of TV, film, and other media. And so we did a little thing called $6 Million Man.
Oh, yes.
And when we licensed
Yes.
$6 Million Man, that took off for us. Then while we were in the middle of that, we did another licensing deal with George Lucas. When we initially met George, he came to visit us at Kenner. He was trying to get the movie funded, and we stepped in to help out on that for the toy rights, and that led to the biggest toy brand ever. It was Star Wars, and so still going on today. And but I've worked on Star Wars, Batman, Superman, all the Marvel, all the DC, NBA, NFL, all of those as well, with superpowers at Kenner, and then GoBots and Transformers and Pound Puppies, Care Bears, Strawberry Shortcake. Too many to mention, but all the way through Sega and things like Magic the Gathering. So a lot of fun stuff, a lot of time over the years, but very, very exciting.
Oh my goodness. Well, tell us a little bit, like, did you ever think Star Wars was going to get as popular as it has?
Absolutely not. We had no idea. I remember our president was Bernie Loomis at the time, and I remember getting called downstairs for a meeting, and that meeting was about Star Wars. And at that time, all we had was a script. So we all literally sat in the floor, looked at the script, and started brainstorming about what we thought we could do, as Bernie Loomis would say, to make it toyetic, to give it some value that could be demonstrated to the kids on commercials and things of that nature. And that was the beginning of Star Wars. But we had no idea that it would become as big as it did. But it's definitely something we were always chasing. We could not catch up with the demand.
It's so exciting. But give us a little rundown of, your best career advice up to this point, Jacob. What kind of led you to be the leader that you are now? What sparked kind of your career?
Well, I remember early on, one of the gentlemen at Kenner, his name was Joe Mendelson, and Joe was head of sales at that time, and Joe said to me that the key is there is no such thing as that's not my job. So what that meant was that if you see something that needs to be done and it's not getting done and it's critical to us getting where we're trying to get to, then step in and do what you can do to help, even if it's not in your area. So I think that is some of the greatest advice I've ever got is to get rid of the phrase, it's not my job.
I love that. Well, let's dive in now to some of the unique stories that you have, right? Because when George Lucas, right, came to you guys before Star Wars. What were you guys thinking when you were trying to decide whether to create action figures, or like, how does that process begin?
Well, it began, we had a strategy and plan to be the action figure leaders in the toy industry. And so just to talk about action figures for a minute, because needless to say, when we were thinking about action figures, they didn't start out as action figures. We were initially talking about them, they were boy dolls. And we all agree that we can't call it boy dolls. That's not going to work,
No, especially today.
But it's essentially,
Yeah.
that's what they were. They were dolls for boys. And so what we had to come up with, what we're going to call them. So we'll call them action figures, And so
Yeah.
that's how the name action figures came about. And Kenner specialized in high feature action figures, which means you have joints in the elbows that move, the head articulates, and things like that, instead of a static figure that just sat there and did not have any articulation at all.
Now, you also worked on something that brings back such great memories for me, Jacob, and that is Strawberry Shortcake, right? Tell
Oh, my
us a little
goodness.
bit about the development of Strawberry Shortcake.
Well, as I mentioned before, Kenner was leading in licensing. And so when we looked at licensing, we were looking at all types of media to potentially license into toys and games. And so $6 Million Man was a television license. Star Wars was a film license. And so then we reached out and to greeting card companies. So we reached out to American Greetings, and then looking at some of their media, which were greeting cards. And there was Strawberry Shortcake and Care Bears. So the first one we licensed was Strawberry Shortcake. And again, trying to figure out how do we make it toyetic. And obviously that was, very colorful toys, but then the unique engineering piece we had to figure out was how do we put the scent into the doll and it lasts and smells good and doesn't smell like plastic.
That's incredible. And how do you kind of choose these kind of scents, or what does the team makeup look like that worked on something like that?
Well, as an engineer, we always say engineering is a way of thinking, and so it begins with what do I need, to achieve the objective, and obviously in Strawberry Shortcake's case, I need fragrance, and so as a toy company, we're not going to go make fragrances, so we reached out to the International House of Fragrances, which is the largest fragrance manufacturer, in the country. And we sat down with them and talked about what we wanted to do and how we could formulate and re-engineer their fragrances to work in PVC, because we were molding the characters, in PVC. And then, how do we introduce that into the manufacturing process and not destroy the fragrance, because the PVC is hot when you're molding it. We didn't want the fragrance to smell burnt or anything. And so how do you do that, was a engineering challenge for us that we had to figure out. And then, of course, what that led to was when you walk in those factories, man, the fragrance would just knock you down.
I can only imagine what that's like, Jacob, is to have you walk in and smell, what were some strawberries?
Strawberries, a lemon meringue was one of the characters. Orange blossom was one of the characters. Then we had a villain character called the Purple Pie Man, which was sort of a grape or Blackberry. I'm sorry,
Oh
Blackberry
my
Pie
goodness.
type character. But those fragrances really, smelled like, a strawberry, shortcake. And so when you're molding the plastic, needless to say, you're cooking the fragrance, and so it is everywhere.
Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine what that was like. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, on LinkedIn as well as YouTube. I see some of the popular toys being mentioned. Care Bears, obviously, Jacob. Strawberry Shortcake. Oh, somebody mentioned Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Ilya mentioned
Yes,
that.
absolutely,
right?
very popular.
And then Bionic Woman as well.
Yes, we followed the $6 Million Man with the Bionic Woman because obviously that show came out, which was very, very successful as well. And one of the first TV shows featuring a woman that turned into a toy, and a toy that
awesome.
was an action figure female character that was popular
Yay.
with boys and girls.
I love that. I love that. Well, we want to play for you a video to give you a little background into Jacob's career, as well as some of the things that he has in his collection. This is actually taken from NBC. We found this video on their YouTube channel, so let's play that now.
May the 4th be with you. Get ready to hear that a lot this Saturday, the annual celebration for fans of all things Star Wars. To celebrate, Heritage Auctions is putting this extremely rare action figure of Boba Fett from the movies up for bids. They expect it to sell for more than $250,000. The man who created this toy and thousands of other iconic toy lines lives right here in DFW. NBC5's Keenan Willard takes us inside the workshop of Jacob Miles, the Grapevine Man, known as the Prince of Play.
I'd have to say Star Wars is my favorite. These I had at Kenner, in my Kenner office.
Jacob Miles' office is a treasure trove filled with rare action figures from Star Wars, Care Bears, and Pound Puppies. But he's not just any collector. Miles created these toys, some more than 40 years ago.
I was Santa Claus to all my nieces and nephews because I make toys.
Miles grew up in the housing projects of Cincinnati, Ohio, using a program for at-risk kids to graduate with an engineering degree. He started working with aircrafts and machine tools, but always wanted something more.
It wasn't happening enough, if you will. Wasn't enough energy around it.
In the 1970s, Miles found his calling, working for Kenner Toys. Ideas for toys would be pitched to the company, and it was his job to bring them to life.
You got to bring it out. You got to make them love it. You got to touch the heartstrings.
Over the course of his career, he created classic toys like Strawberry Shortcake and the $6 Million Man. And he was also part of the team that met with a young director named George Lucas, who had an idea that would become one of the most iconic franchises of all time.
We sat there, looked at the script, and we decided to fund the movie.
Miles built the Star Wars spaceships and action figures that millions of kids grew up with. And then he tapped into a market the toy industry wasn't meeting.
I created my own toy line. I created my own toy line called Cultural Toys.
Miles started a company aimed at bringing more diverse toys to shelves, earning recognition for his efforts to let black and brown kids finally see themselves in the toys they were playing with. Today, he's still hard at work creating new toy lines. Miles' wife calls him the Prince of Play, saying he'll never grow up or stop bringing kids' dreams to life.
It was always tremendously rewarding to see the stuff that you traveled the world to make on the shelf. And it's just amazing to me that, like I say, it's still impacting people.
Keenan Willard, NBC5.
I feel like I should say thank you.
I am saying thank you because I had
Seriously.
some of those Star Wars
Care
toys.
Bears, Strawberry Shortcake, just my childhood. Thank you, Mr.
Brought
Miles.
joy to my childhood as well.
Yes.
Cool stuff.
Prince of Play, they call you, Jacob. I love that. So I wanted to ask you a question that I see on LinkedIn right now from Trey Smith. CIO here in DFW. He asked, were the Star Wars figures injection molded in the USA? How many figures could a mold produce before it had to be replaced?
Well, the initial molds, when we first started, and this is 75, 76, the molds were made in the USA. They were made in Erie, Pennsylvania, and up in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, that area. That was sort of the mold making area for toys and consumer products at that time. But probably mid to late 70s, early 80s, we started migrating making the molds to Hong Kong and Japan. And so because of cost and so forth. So initially it was US. But the injection molding of the characters actually took place in Hong Kong initially, and then we moved to new territories, and then we moved further into China, and mainly because the decorating on those action figures at that time were done by hand.
Oh, wow.
And
that's intricate.
That's very intricate. and we were our goal was to produce 4,000 to 5,000 pieces per shift.
Wow.
And they were running 3 shifts, so you're talking 12,000 pieces a day, so you can imagine my phone when the line went down.
Especially because Star Wars was so popular, right? Oh my goodness. Just want to give a shout out to our audience here. I see Tracy Madison. Her favorite toys were Barbie Easy Bake Oven, right? And then Jackson Ball. We also have here, shout out to Tyler Vasquez. His favorite toys were Hot Wheels, Tonka trucks, as well as Power Rangers.
Oh, yes.
So let us know. Comment the word toys in the comments below in the feed if you want to see more of these type of shows. This is kind of like our first time doing this live. And so let us know whether you like this kind of show and by commenting the word toys. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit here, Jacob, because for every success, there's also trials and tribulations, mistakes, failures, because you're testing things out, right? As engineers, we're testing things out. What was a low point in your career, and how did you kind of navigate out of that?
Well, my low point, especially as I thought about becoming an engineer, actually began in high school. In high school, my father passed while I was in high school, and I was in mechanical drawing class, and my instructor said, well, "Jacob, you're very good at this. What do you want to do when you get out of high school?" I said, "I'd like to become an engineer." And he says, "Have you talked to your counselor?" And I said, "No, I hadn't." He said, "Well, you should talk to the counselor so they can help you prepare, to be an engineer." Well, my counselor disagreed that I should be an engineer. They asked me did I know any Negro engineers, and I said no, I did not. And they said she didn't either, and therefore I should pick something else. How about history? So she put me to major in history and become a teacher. And so I came back to my drawing class, obviously somewhat disappointed, and told my mother that evening, and my mother said, "You can become an engineer. You may not be able to take the traditional path. You may have to find your own path." And when I told my instructor in the mechanical drawing class, he got upset and went down to argue with the counselor.
He was your advocate.
He became my advocate. And then he was not able to change her mind, but he came back and he helped me to designed the path to become an engineer, and he found the engineering apprenticeship program for at-risk kids at the University of Cincinnati. So, so that was something overcome that, again, if you run into obstacles in the traditional way, you may have to find your own way to get there as opposed to the traditional way. In the toy business, and there were always obstacles. You know, obviously one of the biggest obstacles was with the Boba Fett figure, which everybody knows about, that we had to overcome.
Yeah, and it just goes to show, like, just because we haven't seen something be done before, that's not a reason or justification for not allowing someone to become that, to be a trailblazer, basically, right? Oh, man.
Exactly.
And if you hadn't become an engineer, we may not have exactly the type of Star Wars action figures that we have now. You think about the implications of that, the implications of one person and the impact that they can have. So I want to switch a little bit to now talk about technology, right?
Okay.
We have tons and tons of technologists on our Tech Legacies podcast, and we live in a world of tech. We're now moving to a world of AI and automation. And how do you see AI impacting the toy industry?
Well, AI impacts everything, and it's not new to the toy industry. The toy industry birthed the video game industry, and so. A lot of folks don't remember the ColecoVisions and Intellivisions and Parker Visions and so forth that predates the Xbox and PlayStation and all that stuff. But the AI shows up first in the manufacturing process and engineering process. You know, AI shows up in when I was designing machine tools. You know, a perfect example of it is that I mentioned the painting, the hand painting on the figures. Well, we end up automating that with what they call pad printing. And so what we could do was we design tools, we'd write the code, you know, for the tool so it would turn, stamp, come back up, turn, stamp. So one, you maybe put down the white for the eyes, the next one puts down the eyeball, you know, and it was all automated. And that really was the beginning of AI, because AI is essentially machine learning, you know, and you're teaching a machine to think and take more than one step, take steps in progression to build something. So that's where it all started. But now it's going to roll into the creativity and the designs, you know, and all of those sorts of things as well.
Wow. I mean, speaking of mistakes, right? You mentioned the Boba Fett prototype story, right? So I wanted to share with you all a video that we found from Heritage Auction. So shout out to Heritage Auction. I think maybe Jeremy Allen, our mutual friend, is somewhere in the comments there. But you worked with Heritage Auction to bring to auction this Boba Fett prototype, right?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
we're gonna play that video right now, and then we're gonna talk about it after the video plays.
Jacob Miles, I'm one of the original Kenner Star Wars engineers.
From Kenner's Star Wars collection comes the Stormtrooper, the Sand People, and all 20 action figures, including new Hammerhead, Snaggletooth, and more.
The whole point of making them small was that a kid would want to have all of them.
And now, Boba Fett, Star Wars villain with his laser rifle. Boba Fett is not yet available in stores.
Boba Fett came in, we were, marketing had come up with a promotion to give away a figure.
With 4 proofs of purchase.
With the purchase of 4, I believe it was. We had no idea Boba Fett would end up being what he is today.
I am Boba Fett. The ship you seek is nearby. Follow me, friend.
Projectiles were always touchy subject. We were seeing in the marketplace that other people were doing it, and particularly Battlestar Galactica was doing it.
Vipers on target.
And nobody was having any problems. So we convinced quality that we could do it, and we could do it, better and safer. Big discussions, but nonetheless, they agreed for us to do it. Obviously, when Battlestar Galactica had their issues, we immediately just shut it down and destroyed everything. We had we had advertised it, and we were going to send it out, and so we were very concerned about creating disappointing kids, because we had shown that thing taking off. But Carl Wojan, our head of safety, said, well, you'll have a bigger concern if you ship it. So he shut it down, and so I had to go back and figure out, how I'm gonna cover up that slot in the mold, which did not turn out as well as we thought, because it still has little sink marks and so forth on there. So in this case, we had to have calls and faxes and make sure that we were getting everything destroyed, stopping everything that was built and packaged. So it was a pretty big ordeal. But I always think about, wow, if I just held on to this or that or this or that, in the beginning, it would be amazing. Fortunately, I did hold on to some. When I look at it today, I really wish back then we had done more versions of him.
We'll meet again, friend.
We coined the phrase at Kenner, Star Wars is forever, when we hit $200 million in sales. $6 Billion Man took us to $100 million, and then within 3 years, Star Wars had us at $200 million, and with no end in sight. We were always chasing Star Wars. We never really caught up to demand, so we were always chasing it. About that time, we realized that, whoa, this is something really special. This is historical.
Okay, Jacob, what did that Boba Fett prototype end up selling for?
Well, that particular one, and there are several prototypes out there floating around, but that particular one, they had an estimate of $200,000. It ended up selling for over $500,000.
So
now,
incredible.
I have an update. One sold since then. The most recent one that sold for over $2 million.
Stop. No.
Yes, that same figure. And so, not sure how many are out there. Some say 3 or 4. Others say 7. I don't know, but not very many of those prototypes. So those are not toys that ever made it into production and on the shelf. Those were prototypes that someone held on to, after we told them to destroy everything, that are now out there making a lot of money.
So what you're saying is break the rules, and then it might be worthwhile in the future. So folks, you never know, okay? Those things that are gathering dust in your closet or attic, they might have some value. Again, let us know. Comment toys in the comments here if you want to see more of these kind of shows, and maybe even submit your photos. We can reach out to you if you have photos of vintage toys, and we can bring them on the show and talk about them, and maybe explore the value of some of the vintage toys that are in your attic or storage right now. Okay, real quick, where do you kind of see the future of toys? Where is the toy industry going to now? What are the up and coming kind of toys, Jacob?
Well, I'd say the first thing that most folks don't understand is that the fastest growing segment of the toy industry is kidults, which is we call kid adults,
Kid
combining
adults.
those words there
I'm a kid
for
adult.
kidults. But when you look at action figures, for instance, collectibles are huge. Whether it's Pokemon or Star Wars or Magic the Gathering, or whether it's NBA or NFL collectible trading cards, those types of things are huge. Even to the point now where toy manufacturers build a collectible strategy into their process,
Wow.
into their toy creation process, into their how much volume are we going to produce process as well. So obviously AI is going to play a big role. You're going to see more interactive toys whereby a kid can interact with your toy. You'll eventually be able to see you can interact with your action figure. We have I have a Star Wars head that you could put on, and it has a computer chip in it that
No way.
turns my voice into Darth Vader's voice. So those kind of things get to be quite expensive, obviously, but you're going to see a lot of that into toys where interaction and AI built in.
Oh my gosh. See, as you can see, folks, there are so many layers behind the toy industry, and I had no idea until I met Jacob here. So that's why we want to actually create more shows for you. But comment in the comments whether you consider yourself a kidult, a kid that still loves toys, or an adult that still loves kids' toys. And let us know in the comments for that. But I want to get to something here because Jacob brought with him something from 1985, okay? 1985. This is the 1985 Kenner Toy Catalog, okay? Let me put this into the middle here. This is the Kenner catalog from 1985. We can pull that up as well in the zoomed in image for you to see. And you can kind of see in that image all the various things that were popular back then, right?
Yes.
In 1985, Care Bears, Hug-a-Bunch, Strawberry Shortcake, Kenner, Star Wars, obviously. And we want to walk through some of those things with you today, okay? So let's start with Care Bears. Jacob, tell us about the Care Bears line. How did this even, I mean, you mentioned it earlier a little bit, that they were kind of like meant to be greeting cards almost, but let's dive in a little bit more about that.
Well, with Care Bears, you would think we designed them for kids.
Yeah.
We did not. We designed Care Bears to be a gift to be given by teenagers and adults to their friends and so forth.
Oh my goodness.
Each embroidered belly symbolized what that emotion was. So the heart was Tender Heart Bear. You had the storm cloud was Grumpy Bear.
Yeah.
So
let's do a zoomed in view. If we go to the next photo there, we'll see the zoomed in ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had, they represented all of these feelings. Now, Care Bears, the engineering behind Care Bears, what a lot of folks don't understand, yes, that is a fabric that Care Bears is made out of, but that fabric is a plastic. It's made from oil. It is very thin fibers, but not unlike your carpet or something like that.
Wow.
People don't realize that a lot of that comes from oil. And then the technology at that time when we did Care Bears of embroidering that many colors in a mass-produced operation was unheard of, and you'd walk into a room and, this embroideries were you may have 400 embroidery machines going. So we had to figure all that out, find the manufacturers to make the machines, because no one had enough to do what we were trying to do volume-wise. And so we had manufacturing and engineering going in Korea, in China, in Haiti, all over the place. And Care Bears, very, very love that line.
Yes, and then there we have the carrier. I didn't even know there were accessories for Care Bears, but there you go, folks.
Absolutely.
I want to flip over to the Star Wars action figures now, if we can pull that up. So what was it like working on this line? I actually saw a question in the feed here from someone that asked if it was Jose, I think. Oh, for Tyler. Tyler asked, do you still network with George Lucas, Jacob? And if you were to, out of all of these characters, right, what was your favorite and what would you make today?
Well, on the George Lucas question, I still interact and work with Lucasfilm. I worked with them when they did Red Tails. At Kenner, we did Tuskegee Airmen, G.I. Joe type characters once we were with Hasbro. And I worked with the Tuskegee Airmen in licensing and helping them as well. And that necessitated my working with the Lucasfilm folks. Now, as far as my favorite characters here, believe it or not, it was not Boba Fett. Boba Fett was not a major figure at that time, but I always was drawn to where is the guy that I'm looking for. I liked the droids, C-3PO, R2-D2. I thought they were just awesome characters.
Yeah, look at those. That was Han Solo, and I think we have another one zoomed in for Luke Skywalker. Let's flip to that one. And then there he is, yeah, with C-3PO beside him.
Right.
People are getting nostalgic, like they want a paper catalog again, Jacob, seeing all these.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then let's go to the coins. There were collector's coins too, right?
Right. This was 1985, so obviously we introduced Star Wars in 75, 76, and so we're well into it now. And so now we're trying to create, okay, what can we do different? And so we came out, we knew folks were collecting them because we were driving them to collect them all. And so we wanted to give them something else to collect. And so that introduced the coins. So we added a collector coin to the to the package for each Star Wars figure.
And then real quick, we want to show you the lightsabers back then, as well as the vehicles. Look at those vehicles. Does it bring back memories for all of you out there? Right? Brings back all these nostalgic feelings. I mean, I'm just giddy looking at all this. But I want to kind of move forward here and tell you a little surprise that we've done today. We are bringing on 2 mystery boxes because I asked Jacob if he could bring some vintage toys from his collections. So we want to kind of unbox them. I'm not even sure what he brought, but we want to unbox them with you. So these are vintage toys from Jacob's collection. Let me know if you want to see these, okay? Because let me bring them up here on the table. So we're going to start with this first one. Okay, let's do a zoomed in on that. Okay, Jacob, we're going to unbox the first box that you brought, folks.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. Okay. I feel like it's Christmas. Anybody else feel like it's Christmas? Oh my gosh. Okay, guys. Okay, the first one. Oh my gosh, it's so cute.
It's a little 6-inch Good Luck Bear. So, and that was obviously the four-leaf clover is good luck.
Yes.
And we brought that out around St. Patty's Day, of course.
Perfect.
You know.
Yes.
But some of the unique things that with Care Bears that are different from Kenner and the original Care Bears from the ones today is that you see the little tuft of hair.
Yes. Let's hold it up.
Yeah, have a little tuft of hair here at the top. You know, and then also on their little butts, there is a Care Bear heart on every Kenner Care Bear. Let me get that right. There we go. Yeah, there's a little heart.
Yep.
You know, on every Kenner Care Bear, and so that was unique to Kenner. And you notice their nose is a little heart as well. But those are our Care Bears. And this little guy, if you look at him closely, you know, he's winking at you.
Oh, so cute. And then I want to bring on the other one you brought in the box here. Okay, tell us about this character.
That is a Tenderheart Bear. You know, and what we're striving for there is for if you like someone, or if you're feeling love for someone, then you'd give them the Tenderheart Bear. You know, and so it was one of our most popular bears because that heart grabbed the heartstrings.
So
Obviously.
it's like I guess it's like kind of like a Valentine's card.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
It's like
Perfect for
if
Valentine's.
Back in the day, like if I had a crush on somebody, then I would give this to them or something.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. Awesome. Okay, we're going to be unboxing one more item, but in the meantime, I want to show you this quick video of one of our sponsors, because without our sponsors, we can't be in these great studios at Real News PR and bring you these shows. So stay tuned. Let me play this commercial from our sponsor, and then we'll do one more unboxing. I want to pause real quick here and give a special shout out to one of our sponsors, CG Infinity. I've worked with them for several years now, and I can truly say that they have one of the best workplace cultures that I've ever experienced. And they specialize in a variety of industries, especially energy, utilities, and financial services. And they serve them through their Salesforce, cloud, as well as customer experience services. So thank you, CG Infinity, and I hope you'll support them as they have supported us here at the podcast. How cool was that? Awesome. Jacob, for those of you that seeing those Care Bears brought back memories, Eric Hibbs in the comments says he got a tender heart bear when he was 8 years old after having open heart surgery.
Wow, that's what it was for.
Oh,
that's why we
so
did
cool,
Tender Heart.
Eric.
That's why we did it.
Thank you for sharing that story, Eric. That is incredible. And there you go. You get to see the impact of your creations, right? He got that after his open heart surgery. Oh, I love that. Okay, so we want to do one more unboxing, right? Because we want to show you something else. Okay. Another drum roll. I love how you wrapped it. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. Let's start with this. Jacob, tell us what this is, please.
That is the original first Star Wars Empire Strikes Back collector's case. So during the first movie, we didn't have a collector's case because we were trying to get all of our figures, which we weren't able to do before the movie came out. So we end up selling empty boxes. If you have one of those empty boxes, that's worth a lot. But it still has all of the stickers that were on it. On the inside, it also has some Star Wars figures.
Can we open it? or
Yeah,
no?
sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna let Jacob open it because I feel like I don't want to like damage anything. Oh my gosh, guys.
So when you received it with that showing the different figures on the front and back of that.
There you go. Okay, and
then if you turn this over, it had other figures on it.
okay.
And then it had all of your labels,
Let me get the labels out here.
for your figures.
Okay. Oh my gosh, yes.
And then, of course,
look
we
at
have
those.
some figures as well.
There they are. Wow. Incredible. Oh my gosh, C-3PO, or no, R2-D2 still
Right.
in its packaging.
Yeah, still in
There's
its early packaging.
There's R2-D2. Oh my goodness, this brings back so many memories. Wow. Okay.
And then we also brought along
Yes.
the Star Wars figures with the coin that we talked about.
Tell us about this one.
Now, that has again the special collector's coin, and these we really were excited about it, and the coins were very popular, and we included them with all of the major figures, and I brought 2 of them along today.
Let us know if you have any of these items. Drop that into the comments. Oh, there he is. R2-D2.
Absolutely.
So cute. Still in its original packaging.
Yeah, it's just
Is that where the value is when they are still in the
that
original
is correct. If they still are in their original package, never been opened, those generate the highest value to collectors.
Okay. So for those of you that might still have these items in your attic or garage, right, take a photo of it. Comment toys and send us your photos. Send me your photos. I'll make sure that Jacob sees it, and we can talk about it some more on upcoming shows. So Jacob, thank you. Thank you for bringing us all those toys. Were there any hiccups? Like I want you to share with our audience the Christmas story
Okay.
behind when the action figures weren't ready for Christmas and what you guys had to do then.
Okay.
Tell
Well,
us that story.
after we did the deal with George, we had to obviously see if we could how quickly we could get the toys done, and obviously that fell in my engineering area and operations area, and I told marketing, I said, "There's no way I can get these figures done before the movie comes out," and they said, "You got to find a way. You got to find a way." I said, "Look, I got to build molds, and so I went through the process of everything has to be done before we could make a figure, and so marketing decided, okay, what can we do? And so we were at a loss. Bernie Loomis, our president, came up with, why don't we just make a box, put an IOU in it, and then sell the box for the price of a figure, and then send them the figure when you have it made." And so that's what we did. We sold empty boxes. And of course, the FTC outlawed that after we did it. You can't do that anymore. But we did it. It was huge. We sold millions of empty boxes.
I almost can't imagine being a kid on Christmas, opening up the box, shaking it. Why is nothing moving in this box? And then it was empty. But I bet when they finally got it,
It was an IOU.
Yeah.
again, those boxes right now, if you had one of those, you know, that is a huge value.
Yes.
You know, if you had
Oh my
that empty
gosh.
box never opened, would be huge.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, that was the original. I was the first of its kind, and Bernie Loomis was a risk taker. And
You gotta be, right?
Yeah, you're in the toy business.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the most entrepreneurial business on the planet. Is how I look at it.
Shout out to Jeremy Allen in the comments. He was just saying,
Jeremy,
Jeremy, we love you at Heritage Auctions. He was just saying how valuable this was. And he's like, because even, he was saying, even the stickers and the paper being original with the box is amazing. Right? Down to those kind of details. Make sure you guys all connect with Jeremy Allen in the comments there. He is with Heritage Auctions, and he knows all about the value of these toys. And if you guys like these shows, we'll probably bring on Jeremy onto the show so that he can talk to you about the collectibles side of all these toys. So we are coming up at the bottom of the hour. Jacob, tell our folks here, so it's not just toys that are collectibles. What else are collectibles?
well, when you look at the toy and game industry, gaming industry, really, we had a saying at Kenner, which is so true. All toys are reflections of life. You know, we look at what people are doing, and then we see what we can make out of that. We can exaggerate it, or we can simplify it. But it's just reflections of life. So when you look at things like old video games, like the Sega game systems that I was involved in, you know, and those cartridges and so forth, those unopened, unused are collectibles. When you look at the trading cards, you look at the sports trading cards, the sports jerseys, you know, signed and vintage, you know, and I have to stress vintage, you know, because if it's something you bought at the store last week, that's not a collectible. Okay, so rarity, Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering cards, you know, and so forth. So collectability can go across all types of toys, you know, from the plush toys to the play sets to the figures to the ships to the posters, all of those type of things. But anything tied to a celebrity, usually that's going to be, you know, pretty collectible as well.
So if you want to hear more about all these collectibles, send us some of your photos, okay? Comment toys in the comments, and we'll reach out to you and have you submit some photos of some of your old vintage toys as well. Okay, so we're wrapping up here, Jacob. Any kind of advice for those that might want to start collecting?
Yes.
What should they look out for?
Well, I think the main thing to look out for is popularity. You know, because if it is popular and limited,
Yeah.
okay, if it is zillions of them out there, then it's probably not going to be very collectible. You know, anything signed, you know, by a celebrity, obviously is also very important as well. But the collectible market is absolutely booming right now. And I don't see an end to that, especially as it refers to vintage toys, vintage comic books. Star Wars comic books are very collectible, especially those that were done. I think there's 108 different comic books that were done in the initial Star Wars collection by Marvel.
Wow.
Those are very, very collectible. So
Okay.
very exciting, folks.
Out there, if you want more shows like this, let us know. Comment toys in the comments. And I want to thank you, Jacob. Thank you for sharing all those incredible stories. Thank you for taking us on this journey through our childhood. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
As we dealt with 1985 today. Let us know, as we can go backward. We can go back and do a catalog from 1975.
Oh, my goodness.
76, 77, 78, 79, all the way through. And really exciting products that you may not think about off the top of your head. You know, a perfect example is the mask line. Highly collectible line. Had a run of 2 or 3 years, but we're here. We'd love to hear from you and help you understand more about collectibles.
Awesome. Well, thank you for tuning in, everybody. I certainly had fun. I hope you had fun,
Absolutely.
Jacob, and all of you
Absolutely.
out there. Hope you had fun, and let us know if you want to see more shows like this. We'll see you next time, and more toys, more unboxing.